Okay, so this is going to be an interesting evening for us because our judge this evening is Martin Heavner. And Martin, you're up on the screen. Everybody's looking at you, so don't do anything funny.
You look like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Well, appreciate your trekking all the way down by electrons to us this evening. Where are you this evening, Martin?
Frederick
Okay.
area.
All right. Frederick, sometimes Bedford Valley near Cumberland. Martin actually splits his time between these things. He exhibits his photographs online and at galleries all over the area. His work has been published in galleries, in magazines, calendars, and electronic greeting cards as well. So this past year, he won awards in juried shows sponsored by the MPA, and I did see that the other week whenever we put that among the other pictures up in the house down in Annapolis. The Maryland Federation of Art and Allegheny Arts Council, Southeast Center for Photography, and the Frederick Camera Click. So as you can see, Martin does a lot of this, and he's really quite good at it. In 21, one of his prints received a People's Choice Award at Cumberland Valley Photography Exhibit at the Washington County Museum of Arts. He's also as a featured photography in the annual Backbone Mountain Review, a literary journal showcasing artists in the Appalachian Mid-Atlantic region. He frequently judges photography compositions for camera clubs and photo salons, and he's had a little experience with this before. For more than 40 years, he's been a member of various camera clubs and currently is a member and past president of the Frederick Camera Click, which I know well, has a lot of great photographers in. Martin's a member of the board and the past president of the Allegheny Arts Council in Cumberland, where he helps to organize the Allegheny National Photography Competition and Exhibition. That group offers $6,500 in cash awards and annually attracts more than 600 entries from throughout the United States. More of his images can be seen at his website, and we'll send some information out with those addresses on, John. We can do that. And that's where we are. Now, before I turn this over to John, Martin, do you have any other comments you want to warn people about with your judging, or
Warn them.
warn them?
No, I just want to thank you for the invitation. I've done a lot of judging at a lot of different camera clubs around the area, but I think this might be my first time with the Arundel Camera Club. So I'm honored that you extended an invitation to me, and looking forward to the evening.
Okay, looking forward to it as well. And I'm going to turn this over to John, and he'll be working with you on trying to take us through this evening's pictures.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me get the screen set up, Martin, and I'm sure you have the images on your side as well. Well, I cannot minimize Zoom, so let me make Lightroom. There we go. Let's see, let's start with the novices. Let me make sure I have these all in the correct sort. File name. Okay, going back to novice. My Lightroom is all messed up. Okay, we ready, Martin?
I am.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll go through all of them. I'll give you the name, and then once we're at the very end, I'll go back to number one, and then it'll be up to you for comments.
Okay.
Image number one, Moment of Triumph. Image number two, Sea Turtle. Image number three, Cape Lookout. Image number four, Shadow Play. Image number five, Fjord in Alaska. Image number 6, Golden Lady. Image number 7, pose. Image number 8, classy colonial. Image number 9, beauty is beautiful. Image 10, light painted flower. Image 11, strength. Image 12, dune. Image 13, peaceful. Image 14, before and after. Image 15, gentoo penguin porpoising. Image 16, wash day. Image 17, overlooking Lions Creek. Number 18, Pyrgos Courtyard. Sure, I butchered that. And that is it. I'm going to go all the way back to number 1. Since we are congratulating Bob and Susan for all the great work that they do, thank you, Bob and Susan. Whichever one of you prints me out these names so that I don't have to try to read them on the screen from all the way over here. It really makes life a lot easier. Martin, we're back at number 1, moment of triumph, and turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Let me try to go back. I want to keep those pictures up. I'm trying to play with my screen to make sure that I can see it again, because I don't really want to look at myself. I want to look at, oh well.
Yeah, make sure you bring the photos up on your side, because if you look at the photos through the stream, there's potential for them to degrade if our internet kind of blips out.
Yeah.
And then Ron asked me to make sure that I bring up, it was 1st through 4th and 2 honorable mentions.
2 honorable mentions, okay. Yeah, the only, I'm happy to do that, and I do thank you all for let me see these images in advance. That helps a lot. I do have them in my Lightroom. Problem is, I don't think I've got them in the same order that you do, but that we can work with that. So
Martin, let's go ahead and fix that for you. When you go in the Lightroom and you're into the folder for the novices,
yeah.
when you go on the bottom, you're going to see sort on the bottom of that screen, and usually it defaults to capture time. But if you change that to sort file name, you should get exactly what we have here.
All right, let's try that. I'm sure my screen's set up a little different than yours, so I'm not seeing that right now.
I can't remember where the title was.
Here we go. All right.
You're good now?
You're the magic man.
And I'm going to try to get titles up here real quick.
I think it's a
Oh, I have to hit,
Control T or something like that.
is it Control T? No, how about full screen?
Control I maybe.
Not even full screen's giving it to me. I reloaded during Adobe Suite. Oh, photo. Auto advanced keyword. Well, dang. View options, here we go. See if we can get it in there. Oh, uh-oh, that's not good. There we go. Show info overlay, there we go. Okay, Martin, all yours, bud.
All right, let's try it. We're looking at Moment of Triumph. A really amazing shot. My compliments to the maker. You talk about catching the peak action. It's hard to imagine. I love the way that it's composed. I love the action that's been caught, particularly if you look. I miss my laser pointer when I do these remotely, but particularly towards the bottom of the image, when you look at the expression on everyone's faces, and you even got the hands down in the lower right-hand corner reaching up. So it's hard for me to imagine how this image could have been improved, except I always get picky and say, wow, wouldn't it have been wonderful if we could see a little more of the top guy's face? We're seeing pretty much in profile. So maybe that would have helped it a little bit, but otherwise, it's a marvelous image. I know it means a lot to all of us here in Maryland to see something like this. I'd certainly like to keep this in for the placement round.
Number 1 is in. Number 2.
All right. And wow. Talk about a impactful nature shot. I assume with a telephoto lens, we always like to get up close and can't get much closer than this. I love that the maker got down because one of my pet peeves is people shoot too much from standing up. I'm guilty of it myself, but it's great to try different angles, different perspectives, and it looks like the maker did that. The colors in this image are marvelous. The background is well handled. I think it could be a little overexposed, maybe in my mind, and I know it's always tough. Everybody's looking at different screens and different calibrations, but on my screen, it looks like it might be maybe a third of a stop or so overexposed. And it is a little soft where I'd like it to be sharper. The texture around the turtle's neck and head looks pretty sharp, but when you actually look at the head itself and the eyes, they go a little bit soft. And one of my tenets, since I've had the pleasure of looking at these images in advance, I have to say that there's a lot of wonderful images in the competition tonight, and I'm going to have to be really picky because not everything can get an award. One of the things that I look for when I'm thinking of when it comes time to award time is how some of these images might do in an outside competition, like an MPA competition, like a Maryland Federation of Art, the Hagerstown Show, so many others that people enter outside. And of course, there's a lot of nature and wildlife competitions. So you're really up against some tough competition. And that's where I think he needs to be a little sharper this time to do well in an outside competition. Wonderful image overall, but I'm going to drop it. I'm not going to take it to the placement round because it's a little soft.
Okay, image 2 is out. Image number 3.
Okay, number 3 is Cape Lookout. I find this very intriguing image. I love playing with reflections myself. I like the way the maker handled this. There's a little bit of mystery to it. It's a very creative angle. I think our human nature, we want to kind of see the writing the right side up, and if you flip the image up, it looks a little more natural, but I'm not sure it really makes the image any better. I just like the way this has been composed. I like the creative approach. The lighting is kind of got a mysterious take to it. I'd like to keep this in for the placement round.
3 is in. Number 4.
Number 4 is shadow play. Wonderful shadows. Wow. Definitely, those are the kind of shadows you want to play around with. And the fact that the maker decided to render this in black and white, I think is a very positive, very good decision. I think that's the right decision as far as I'm concerned. I don't think this image would be nearly as powerful as it is in color. Um, I would have cropped a little bit off the left side, particularly down on the lower left where you see a little sliver of light on that post. We all know that our eye tends to go to the lightest parts of the image, and that little sliver even draws my eye away. And then this is where digital imaging on screens gets to be a bit of a question, but I will say that in my mind, the wall to our right takes up a good bit of the screen. I'd like to see a little more texture in that wall. On my image, it's got a little bit, but not as much as I'd like to see, which tells me that it might be a tad overexposed. Um, I like the way the maker has composed it, but those two areas that are really bright and draw my eye away, and I don't see a lot of texture or benefits to having my eye up in those areas, makes me think I'm going to not take this to the next round.
Okay, number 4 is out. Number 5.
Number 5 is Fjord in Alaska. Wow, I'd love to be there. What an amazing location. And I think the maker really handled this well. We'll talk about the mysteriousness of the fog, the panoramic vision of looking at going down towards, I guess, this entrance or exit of the fjord. Very dramatic location. Um, I don't think the only way I could have improved this image and suggest is I don't think we need quite as much of the water as we have down at the bottom. I probably would have cut a little bit of that off, not a lot, but I don't think we need quite as much. I do like that we've got plenty of sky because I like images to breathe. Um, the other question or suggestion I would have is I'd love to see what this image looks like in black and white. The colors, the green of the lake or the fjord are beautiful. The colors of the trees and the mountains are nice, but it overall it's a kind of a monochromatic image, and I think it could be even more powerful if you rendered it as a monochromatic image. Um, I don't think as powerful as this image is when I think of it in some outside competitions and the tough competition of other landscape images. I think this might not do as well as I would like. I think I'd be very proud of it myself taking it, but I don't think I'm going to carry this into the placement round.
Okay, number 5 is out. Number 6.
Golden Lady, they're a very intriguing image, and one of my watchwords for judging is I like to be surprised. I like to see images that I haven't seen a lot of. Nowadays, we see so many images with Facebook and Instagram and so many other social media, and of course our own photographs that. So when you see something that you really haven't seen before, I find it very intriguing and makes me happy. And I commend the photographer for seeing this. A very creative approach. I don't know if it was a total accident or if the photographer had this in mind all the whole way to see this kind of silhouette of a lady, but it works perfectly. I like the way it's handled. You know, it's got the colors. It's sharp where it needs to be. It's smack dab in the middle of the frame, which usually is not what we want, but this is a good time to break the rule. Let's keep that in for the next round.
6 is in. Number 7.
Number 7, pose. This image intrigues me because talk about a rule breaker that works. I mean, I think most people would say, well, gee, you don't want that variety of tones and sunlight and shadows in your image. I mean, you go from the starkness on the right-hand side where it's very dark and in shadow to the bright side on the left. But I think it works. And I like the way the maker has handled this with the transition a little bit towards a third of the frame. The birds are sharp. They all have interesting poses. We've got some wonderful reflections. The colors are handled well. So I think this is a good example of, most people would say, well, choose one or the other. Either go with it in shadow, go with it in sunlight. The maker decided to do both and made it work. I'm sure it was a tough exposure, but I think it works. Let's keep this for the next round.
7 is in. 8.
8 is classy colonial, and it definitely is a classy image. I love the profile. I love the young lady. The juxtaposition of her and the picket fence with the church out in the background just all works really well. Looks like it's a moment in time, maybe not our time, but from the past. The shadow that the lady is casting and the fence is very intriguing. Nice job, and the texture and the bricks, all that works together well. If I can be picky a little bit, the gentleman that's walking across on the left side of the frame, nowadays, everybody has a different aesthetic on what they want to, what they feel comfortable leaving in and removing. But I sure would be tempted to remove that gentleman that's walking. I think he kind of spoils the whole image because you can see him out there and he looks like he's probably a little more in what I would guess modern clothes. So that bothers me a little bit. The other thing I've noticed with some images, they're a little more contrasty than I would prefer for black and white, even for some color images. I think we've all been kind of seduced by the high contrast black and white images of Ansel Adams and others, and I love those images. But sometimes I think we can back off a little bit on the contrast. We don't, everything doesn't need to be perfectly pure black and perfectly pure white. There's some good texture and some good tones in this, but overall, I guess if I was looking at this on my screen in Lightroom, I'd be tempted to just bring the contrast slider back a little bit. I think it would improve the image. It wouldn't look quite as what I call crunchy. And I think it'd still be a wonderful image. But with the contrast issue and with the gentleman out in the distance, in fact, there might actually, now I look at it, might be two gentlemen. I think I'm not going to carry this forward into the placement round. This is out.
Okay, 8 is out. Number 9.
Number 9 is Beat Beauty is beautiful. It is a beautiful image. The composition is wonderful. The way I think I love the way the maker has lead your eye with these piers or whatever this, the fences, the whatever the sticks are that are coming out of the water. I mean, I guess maybe it's an oyster farm. I don't know, but it just leads your eye right through the picture, and it's very, very well done. The colors are handled well. The sky isn't as interesting as I'd like, but we don't always get what we want. There seems to be some texture to the image, like it was printed on paper or an overlay, and I kind of like that. It's nice to have a little bit of that texture in the sky. I would say, though, that I think it's a little contrasty. Back off the contrast. You're photographing on a high contrast light day, so you're going to get a lot of contrast anyway, and sometimes that can work to your favor, sometimes it cannot. But I think here, when you look at the right-hand side of the photograph, the reeds off to your right, which occupy a fair amount of the image. The contrast is so high that it's really even hard to see some of the individual reeds and some of the other plant life that's over there. I think it would work better just to back off the contrast a little bit, and I don't think it would hurt the rest of the image at all. But my compliments to the maker for nice, very foresighted composition. I'm not going to take this into the next round, however.
Number 9 is out. Number 10.
Number 10, light painted flower. Knockout colors and this, something that you're not used to seeing or used to seeing beautiful flowers and plants that are in perfect bloom. And this has a mood of a little bit of a decay. Definitely has a mood to it with the colors. I don't know exactly what all is going on with it, but it works. It works very well. The fall off on the light to the left side bothers me a little bit. I'd like to see more of that leaf that's off to the left side. This is another one that breaks the rule by putting the image right smack dab in the middle. I don't see how you could have done it otherwise. Sometimes you can take images like this and play with them a little bit and maybe create a little more a diagonal if you'd like. That adds a little more tension to the composition. But overall, it's sharp. The colors are really intrigue me. I don't know where the light's coming from. I assume it's some kind of artificial lighting, but it works well, and I'll carry this into the next round.
10 is in. Number 11.
I'm really happy to see in an open competition people putting in some abstracts. I think photographers need to play around with abstracts more than they do. because you can really get some wonderful things, and it doesn't have to be totally non-representational. You can get some abstracts out of things that you still recognize. I don't know where this comes from, but the reason behind an abstract is usually, I think of lines and colors and textures, and I think when you apply those criteria, the maker has hit a home run on all three. The colors work really well together. The shapes, the intersection of the geometrical shapes and the sizes, the way they come together works well. It's very pleasing to the eye. I can see this hanging on someone's on wall if they're really into abstract images. The better the image, the more picky I get, and I will say that in my mind, I would have tried not to cut off the little piece down to the very bottom of the image. Close to the center, you'll see that the shape is truncated a little bit, and also right up at the top. I like images that breathe a little bit. You know, we've all kind of heard the lessons of, well, get in close, get in close. Well, that's true, but sometimes you can get in too close and cut off some key things. So let your images breathe a little bit more. And I think it would have helped to have been able to see more at the top and down at the bottom. As is, I think there's enough positive things with the image. I'd like to carry this into the next round. And I know I'm going to have way more than we need, but that's the fun of it.
Number 11 is in. Number 12.
Yes. This is an image that I think is a perfect example of it's abstract and it's not abstract. I think most of us can see that it is sand dunes, but the maker has just done a wonderful job of composing the sand dunes. The texture, the depth of field is really well handled. I love the layers. I love the fact that the dune down at the closest to the bottom has the most texture in it, and your eye just kind of goes down to that naturally, and everything else in the image supports it. I would like to see this image in black and white, but I think the warm color also works too. I'm not sure which would be better. With this approach, the maker gives us some warm tones in the sand, but also some cool tones in the shadows, and they go together well. I hope the makers played around with both, and that this is an aesthetic choice that we were going to go with this, but I like it a lot. Commend the maker for handling really a tough situation when you go out to these places, between the sand blowing on your lens and just finding the right perspective and keeping everything in focus is not easy to do. Let's keep this for the next round, please.
12 is in. Number 13.
This image I studied for quite a while. It tells a story. I'm just not sure what that story is, but that's okay. That's one of the mysteries behind photography. I'm intrigued by the triangle that is kind of, if you visually draw a line from the two boats down to the woman with her back to us, you end up with a triangle. And that's kind of a neat little composition thing that you don't see all the time. The background is beautiful. The fog on the mountains looks like a really wonderful location to photograph at. And I like that the maker made sure that all the ducks are visible. We don't have any mergers of the ducks with the young lady or anything like that. The time of day, despite the fog on the mountains, I think maybe a little earlier in the morning or later in the evening would have gave it a little more sweet light. The light as it is a little contrasting. Of course, I'm talking now the foreground light. The background light is very, very nice, but you get the harsh shadows then in the sand, which is in our foreground. So that disturbs me a little bit. And then when I look at what's behind, or what's in the middle of the triangle I draw with my eye, there's just water. There's not a whole lot of interest out there. So another boat, a duck, I don't know what it could have been, but it's kind of empty. So I think we could have solved all those issues maybe by just getting down. Looks like the maker was probably standing when he or she made this image. I think if you had gotten down low at a lower angle, it would have brought our subject of the young lady a little further up into the frame and would have given us something there in that middle part of the image that would have been a little more stronger. So I wrestle with that. There's a lot I like about this image, but I do think it could have been stronger that way. I will not take this to the next round.
Okay. 13 is out. Number 14.
Number 14 is before and after. What a title. This looks like Desolation Row, but it's really well handled. The maker composed this with a lot of thought. The way the pillars kind of interact with each other, and you got this stair step approach, and you've got all this driftwood in the foreground. I think it's really well done. The sky is interesting. You've got the juxtaposition of the more modern looking bridges out in the distant. So again, it's the kind of image that kind of tells a story and allows the viewer to kind of make up their own story. And the title before and after. Okay, I assume maybe these were the pillars for some previous bridges, but you could think of other things too. I like the image. I think the time of day is not ideal. You get that contrasty light. You do get a beautiful sky, but I think it might have been stronger with a little less direct sunlight, a little less contrasty light. One of the things that you can do that I recommend when you're dealing with light like this is, again, play around with black and white, play around with monochrome. I'd be interested to see what this image might look like in monochrome. And sometimes, even with contrasty days, bright sunny days, a monochrome approach helps a little bit. And certainly you'd have some interesting textures with all the driftwood and so forth. I'd like to keep this for the next round. I'm not sure how far it'll go in the next round. I see a lot of positives, but I guess the lighting, I wish we'd have found a little better day lighting conditions to shoot this. Let's keep this for now, please.
14 is in. Number 15.
15, Gen 2 Penguin. Talk about a high visual impact image. You don't get much more. Visual impact is a little bit of a cliche, but I think this image really is, jumps out at you. The maker handled it. Wow, is all I can say. It's sharp. The eyes are sharp. I can't imagine how the reflexes the maker had to catch this. The shimmer of the water really adds. You've even got the reflection down at the bottom. It's well exposed. I would have expected, considering the motion and that you're probably working with a telephoto lens, I would have expected some depth of field issues, but they're not there. The maker handled it well. The background is very neutral, and it just makes the penguin just jump out at you. So my compliments to the maker. I think this could do well in an outside competition in wildlife photography, or who knows what else, but certainly birds in flight. This is a superb image, and I'd like to keep this for the next round.
15 is in. Number 16.
Number 16, Wash Day. Wow, the colors just are wow. I really like the way the maker captured this scene that you don't see every day, especially nowadays. Not that many people are using wash lines, but some are, and it really works well together. The colors, the pinks, the blues, the reds. You've got the leaves on the ground. It all just works together well, and it's well composed. I find the lack of detail in the roof, the roof that's nearest to us as viewers, the white roof, that surprises me. I'm not sure what's going on there. Everything else seems so sharp and detailed. I don't quite understand why there's no detail in that roof unless it's just totally overexposed. So that's one thing I would have liked to seen a little bit better. The other thing is I love the colors. I love saturated colors, but I think maybe this is a little bit too much. I think I'd back off a little tad on the colors. With our digital editing software that I assume everybody's using these days, everybody uses a different one, but almost all of them have a way of making the colors really saturated or bringing the saturation down a little bit. And I think it wouldn't take a lot, but I would bring them back a little bit, make it a little less punchier, really, I think more realistic, and I think it would still be a powerful image. Let's keep this for the next round, though, please.
16 is in. Number 17.
Number 17, overlooking Lions Creek. What I really liked about this image is the layers that the photographer allows the viewer to kind of go through. You've got this nice solid foundation in the foreground, and then it kind of, your eye just naturally goes up through the creek and up into the buildings. It makes me cold just looking at the scene, but that's the idea. You know, you want your viewers to feel what it was like being there. So it's kind of a desolate scene, but it also has some nice warm colors with the reeds in the foreground and the red of the buildings in the background. The foreground could be a little sharper. I don't know whether it was taken on a tripod or not, but I'd like to see the foreground a little sharper since the maker made a decision to really have a lot of depth of field. So if you're going to make that decision, then make sure that you've got the right aperture or you're on a tripod so that everything stays nice and sharp. The layers work well, but I also will say that when you get to the top of the image and you see the buildings, to me, there's not as much of a visual payback or payout as I would like to see. It's a good kind of record shot of a home and a barn. But it's not the kind of image that you're going to usually see in an outside competition where there might be some super scenic barn or something of a historic nature. It's a nice residential area, it looks like, but I'd like to see something probably a little more intriguing since the maker obviously saw something here and spent a lot of time setting this up. Maybe it's your own home, and that's fine. I would put this on the wall if this was my own home, but otherwise, I don't see it going that far in an outside competition, so I will drop this one for this evening.
Number 17 is out. Number 18.
Number 18, Pyrgos Courtyard. Another wonderful treatment of shadow, another good decision by the photographer to render something in black and white that I think would not have been as powerful if it had it been in color. The shadows in the foreground really make this image for me, and then the lines with the rope or whatever that cord is that go off into that the wall on the right hand side of the image. It all just really works together well. The tones in that right hand wall is a little bright. Again, I always worry that maybe I'm just not seeing it because of the way our screens are set up. Love to see a little more texture in that wall on the right hand. It seems a little blown out, maybe a little overexposed when I look at it on my screen. So that's one thing I would suggest if the maker can go back and maybe play with their highlights slider and see if you can pick up a little more detail in that wall. And the other thing, when I always look at these images and say, well, what might I have done with this? First of all, I've been very proud to take this image, but the pipe stand that's coming off to the left of the image in about the center, I would be very tempted to remove that because it's got a little bit of lightness to it. My eye keeps clicking over there, and that would be very easy to remove, and I don't think it would hurt the photograph at all. In fact, I think it would make it even better, a good photograph even better. Let's keep this for the next round, please.
18 is in. That's the end of the images for novice.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up and sort these so that we don't see any of the ones that we took out.
Thank you.
Let's see, right there, it looks like we have 11 images. Everybody concur with that? Everybody here is giving me the thumbs up on that.
And you said we need 4 plus 2 honorable mentions. Is that what I recall?
That is correct. We can either go through them again and take more images out, or we can start placing images and whatever doesn't make it falls off the back end. However you like to do it.
Can you put all 11 up in the grid view? Is that possible?
Yeah, I have them up now. Are you?
Oh,
not
I'm
seeing
sorry.
them? Oh,
I keep
no problem.
forgetting that you're looking
No
at something
problem.
different. Okay,
That's as large as I can make them right now.
I got you. Okay. All right. Well, this is when it gets tough because I think all the images have a lot of positive things to go for them. I did have the luxury of looking at these ahead of time, so I do have some. I think I kind of have my choices made up. I would like to. Can I go ahead and just announce that?
You certainly can.
All right. So I would like to award an honorable mention to the Golden Lady, the smoke.
That is image number 6, Golden Lady, honorable mention.
That's right. I'd like to award an honorable mention to the to Peaceful, the one that I'd like to even better if the maker got down a little bit. So that's an HM. And then 4th place would be the Pier
Hold on a
Ghost
second. Hold on a
Courtyard.
second, Martin.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time finding Peaceful. They're telling me Peaceful is out already.
Oh, you know what? You're right. I did. My mistake. My mistake. Can I bring it back in?
Oh, okay. Is that
Sorry
okay with you?
about
Let's ask Ron, the contest chair. Ron, is that okay? Yeah, sure. Are we allowed to bring somebody back from the dead? All right.
If not, I understand. It was my screw up.
13. Let me see if I can't find 13. Peaceful. Okay, remove that flag. Come back in. Okay, you want Peaceful to be an honorable mention?
I would, please.
Done.
Okay. And then 4th place is the Pier Ghost Courtyard, the black and white.
That's number 18, 4th place.
Yep. 3rd place is the Naval Academy shot, Moment of Triumph.
Number 1 is 3rd place.
2nd are the Dunes. I forget the
2nd
title.
place is number 12, Dune.
Yep. And 1st is the Gen 2 Penguin. And the remainder all deserve a good round of applause because they're really nice images. Just little things that I would have liked to have seen tweaked a bit.
Perfect. Okay. Ron, do you want to go ahead and start at number 13?
Okay,
You need to give him, oh, he's got the mic already, good.
yeah, we're good. All right, our honorable mention to Peaceful, number 13, and congratulations to Melissa Chin. Okay, and she's not here this evening, right? Okay. All right. Honorable mention to number 6, Golden Lady, and that's Tim.
Yes, hello. This was just fooling around in my basement, capturing images of smoke from incense, and just captured it with a flashlight with a colored gel, which gives you the color.
Nice. He said a flashlight, not a flash.
Flash, not a flashlight.
Okay, it gives us the rest of us lots of good ideas, so thank you for that.
Nice job.
Okay, 4th place to John Crooks for Pyros, Courtyard. You pronounce it and it's yours. John's here, right?
Yeah, this was in Santorini, Greece, about 3 years ago, just like the shadows and the shapes on this one. So that was it.
Nice.
A lot of people like giving us names we can't pronounce, and I know that's true because I did it back when I first started here.
Okay. And Christine, hope you know the pathway back there because the third place winner, Moment of Triumph, is also a John Crooks.
Perfect action shot.
Yeah, this is, obviously the Herndon climb, and I think this was like 12 or 13 years ago, surprisingly, so just had it on the hard drive and kind of liked it, so thanks.
Okay. And our second place winner is Dune. The photographer is Tim Houston.
Yes, this was taken last month in Death Valley. Most of the time in Death Valley, you hike into the dunes. In this case, we actually went on the other side of the road, up on a hill to take this with a longer lens, which gives you a little bit different perspective.
Good eye.
Okay, and now our first place winner to Eric Dahl for Gen 2 Penguin Porpoising.
Hi. I was just down on a trip in Antarctica. Just got back a couple weeks ago. We went out in a Zodiac, and it ended up just being me and one other photographer and our wives. So we decided we'd look for penguins, and there was a lot of Gen 2 penguins porpoising like this. Everybody spent the whole trip trying to get porpoising penguin shots. I had a R5 Mark II, which has pre-capture, and that's partly how I got this. The first image in that series is actually just a ripple in the water as he's coming out.
Wow.
So the autofocus locked in pretty fast, and I had the aperture down a little bit so I'd have a little more depth of field.
Impressive. You were ready for it.
Okay, now it's time for the fun contest. We have, how many images do we have here? 48. Are you ready, Martin? Do you need a snack break or anything?
I'm good. Let me resort mine to the, you said they're sorted by file name now, right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. I'll see if I match up with you. Go ahead. You're gonna do a run through first, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Here we go. Number 1, the dolly. Number 2, lighthouse spiral. Number 3, desert trekkers. Number 4, dinner time. Number 5, Cagliari, Italy. Number 6, art from fireworks. Number 7, what's the plan here? Number 8, St. Mark's Basilica. Number 9, Ruby Crown Kinglet on lunch break. Number 10, the conductor. '11, ice. 12, family gathering. 13, early morning prayer. 14, rose. 15, garden in camera. 16, Peekaboo Bee. 17, Perfect Timing. 18, Bison Fighting. 19, Ibis. 20, Northern Harrier. 21, Blackwater Sunrise 3. 22, Nan-Day Parakeets. 23, Beautiful. 24, Yummy. 25, Painted Bunting. 26, Reddish Egret Snack Time. 27, Smoke Follows Beauty. 28, Observatory. 29, Old Forgotten Tractor. 30, Arrest in the Park. 31, Sue. 32, Decay and Light. 33, The Fireman. 34, Hospital Ward. 35, Egret. 36, Ruby-throated Hummingbird. 37, San Juan. 38, Wyoming Sunset. 39, Boston Public Garden. 40, Winter Crocuses. 41, Anhinga Dinner Surprise. 42, Scudic Sunset. 43, Artistic Leaves. 44, Blackwater Seascape. 45, Tap Tap Tap. 46, Cowboy Closet. 47, Eileen Donan. And 48 is Celebrate.
Very good.
That is it. I'm going to go back to number 1, and whenever you're ready.
You guys make my job really hard. Some wonderful images in here. And I can tell you guys you all live close to the water, because I've never seen so many amazing birding pictures in one evening. My compliments. And I wanted to make a comment about the titles. Most of the time, most of the clubs that I've judged for, I don't learn the title till afterwards, and it's kind of fun to see the titles. They do kind of add a little bit more to the image in my mind. Okay, let's get going. The Dali. Wow, talk about a historical shot. This is quite the record. It's kind of a sad photograph, but it needed to be documented, and the maker really did a wonderful job with this. Obviously with a telephoto, but the key parts of the image work well together. You really get a sense of the destruction and the mess that this all was. The colors even work together well. So it's quite an amazing image. I would have liked to have seen a little more on the bottom of the water. We know it's in the water, but just that little sliver of gray, I would have liked to seen a little more context there, a little more breathing room to the shot. I know with a telephoto, unless it's a zoom telephoto, you don't always have that flexibility. But as I said, the nicer the photograph, the more picky I get, and that's one thing I would like to have seen. Oh, I didn't ask John, how many are we keeping for? We've got the 4 awards plus how many honorable mentions?
I believe it's first through fourth and 5 honorable mentions. Yes, that's how we got.
4 awards, 5 honorable mentions. Okay,
9
let's keep
total.
this. Pardon?
9 total.
9 total. Okay, let's keep this for the placement round, please.
Number 1 is in. Number 2.
Gonna end up again with a lot more images, but that's, you guys really have some wonderful images that I enjoy watching, enjoy visualizing these. Okay, the lighthouse spiral. I commend the maker for finding an interesting angle, something that surprises me when you're looking at steps, I guess on a lighthouse. And it's a nice geometrical pattern. So good job with that. The foreground that's out of focus, both on both the left and the right hand side, I don't think really contributes that much to the photograph. So I would have cropped a good bit of the bottom part out. I also might have been tempted to use some of my Lightroom tools or other editing software to remove that little brown pipe that's off to the left-hand side, so that the eye really can just focus on the wonderful pattern that those steps make. And the color's interesting too. The browns and the oranges all work well together. I would be interested maybe in seeing this in black and white. If you did some of that cropping, it could make for a very interesting black and white image too. As is, I think because of the lower third of the image is out of focus, and I don't really think supports what the maker wanted my eye to go to, which is of course the pattern. I'm going to drop this because it's just a little too much out of focus there at the bottom that draws my eye away. This is out.
2 is out. Number 3.
This is out. Yep. Desert Trekkers. Wow. A stark image, but stark in a good way. And the geometry, the patterns, the texture. Wow. It just the 3, I don't know, camels, llamas. I don't know what they are, but it's really an interesting shot. Raises a lot of questions in the viewer's mind, and I like photographs that do that. What is the story here? I think it may be a little bit too much of a good thing, in the sense that I think we have more sky than we need. I think we have more foreground than we need. I'd even be tempted to cut some off the sides, definitely on the left-hand side, and maybe a little bit on the right-hand side as well. Ultimately, I would have loved to have seen the legs of these creatures out there. I like that there's 3 of them. That's always a good number. Wish we could see more of them. I wish there was a little more light on them, but you could at least see a little bit more of their heads. We don't always get everything, especially when we're in a travel situation, but I think those kind of things would have improved the image, particularly on the cropping side of things. So for that reason, I'm going to not continue with this into the placement round.
Number 3 is out. Number 4.
The Inner Time. Very sharp on the eyes and the fur, which really makes the image stand out. And it's nice with the depth of field, the shallow depth of field, it still works that the tail you can see, and it kind of just actually helps frame the face overall. I commend the maker for getting down on the level. of our Mr. Friend Squirrel. That really makes it much more powerful image. And the maker has handled the background well. It is not distracting. The foreground looks natural, but it's not distracting. Let's keep this for the next round.
Number 4 is in. Number 5.
Number 5 is the Italy shot. I commend the maker for the framing aspect of this. I don't know whether it's a bell tower or what the building is, but especially for travel shots like this, it's always nice to not just take a straight shot of the landscape, but try to come up with a way to lead the viewer's eyes into it. I wish that we were a little higher so that the framing device of the archway wouldn't be spending so much of its space framing the sky. I'd like to see it frame more of the city itself. And to do that, you'd have to be shooting at a higher angle. And I know we all carry big ladders with us, right, when we're traveling. So you probably didn't have an opportunity to do that, but that would have really helped this image if we could have brought the sky down, so to speak, and have this beautiful archway framing more of the city skyline and a little less of the sky, because the sky is okay, but nothing particularly exciting about it. The maker shot this in the middle of the day, very contrasty light. I hope that the maker was there long enough that maybe you also got some shots in a little better light, because I don't think the contrasty midday light is your friend for an image like this. So good framing job, interesting city scape, but I don't think I'm going to carry this into the next round.
Okay, number 5 is out. Number 6.
Art from fireworks. The colors and the patterns in this are really outstanding. The maker caught really the what I consider the peak of fireworks, and I like the way the image is composed. I will say I'm assuming that the maker submitted the image this way. First thing when I saw this image, I liked a lot about it, but of course, human nature is you expect to see it flipped the other way. You expect gravity to be pulling these um, fireworks down, and it looks a little strange this way. And I assume the maker made an aesthetic decision to do it this way. And I think for some artwork on the wall, I think it actually works. My mind keeps wanting to reverse the image and put it right side up. I'm pretty sure it's flipped. But that's picky. If you take it purely on the color and the composition of this, it's got a lot of neat things going for it. So I'd like to keep it for the next round.
Number 6 is in. Number 7.
Boy, this guy does look like he's got an attitude. The maker handled this really well. It's super sharp. The eyes and the head, which is what you want to be sharp, work really well. The background is handled well. It's not distracting. I kind of wonder, does the bird bath help or hurt the image? I think in an outside competition, I don't think it's your friend. I think most birding and nature competitions, at least the ones that I'm familiar with, would prefer to see the bird in a more natural setting than a man-made bird bath. But aside from that, I don't see how the maker could have handled this any better. If this hawk or whatever kind of bird it is was outside my yard on a bird bath, I would certainly shoot this and be very, very proud of it. But I think because of the fact that I don't see it going real far in an outside competition, I'm not going to keep this for the next round. It's not out. It's out.
Okay, 7 is out. Number 8.
A wonderful travel shot. What a magnificent structure. The architecture is just breathtaking. The maker nailed the exposure. I mean, you can see so much of this basilica. The artwork, the gold leaf, it just works really well, and the lighting is nice too, because I imagine a lot of shadows, a lot of weird light coming through some of those upper story windows, but the maker handled it well. I would have liked to seen a little more breathing room in the composition on both the left and the right hand side, but I do like that we got some nice foundation to the image at the bottom. Um, the archways just work together really well. So it's a good angle that the maker chose. The only thing that I would say is, wow, it may be too much of a good thing in the sense that I don't know where my eye wants to, there's so many good things in the image. I don't know where my eye wants to spend all its time. Is it the statues in the foreground? Is it the arches? Is it the frescoes? The gold leaf that you see throughout? Maybe the maker could have found a composition where, as good as this one is, maybe there would have been an even better one to kind of lead the viewer's eye to maybe a few more smaller details than this big expanse where there's so many good things going on, you just don't know how to take it all in. That said, I think there's so many positives to this image. I would like to keep it for the next round, please.
Number 8 is in. Number 9.
Ruby Crown Kinglet, boy, he caught this guy needing a good lunch break, that's for sure. Little overexposed, but I commend the maker for catching an image like this. You have to always be prepared. I don't know whether you had a setup or whether this was a grab shot. It's a little soft. That's probably the biggest problem I have with it. I like the way the maker overall has put the image together, and it's certainly one that I would have tried to have taken myself. The red flowers, contrasted with the colors of the bird really work well together. I would probably cropped off the right-hand side, that flower that you see clear to the right. We really don't need that. Probably would have cropped a little bit off the top as well. But the main thing, and the reason I don't think I want to take this into the next round, is it's just a little soft. The feathers, the eye, the head just are not sharp enough to really go very far in an outside competition. So I'm going to drop this, please.
Number 9 is out. Number 10.
The conductor, this this is one where I thought the title was really, I had to chuckle because I love the image to begin with, and then when I saw the title, okay, that's really cool. The maker captured this at the peak moment, handled extremely well, catching a bird in flight and then catching the exposure, if you want to call it that, with some detail and the white feathers. Trust me, you guys are some great birding photographers. I've shot a lot of bird photographs, and I constantly get frustrated. So I admire when I see something like this. I'm, keeping the detail and the feathers, particularly a white bird, a light colored bird, not to mention capturing it at the peak moment. This really works well together. I love the fact that we've got a sharp rock that the bird is coming into, and the water is sharp at the bottom and then kind of just fades into this lovely bokeh as your eye travels up the image. Let's definitely keep this in for the next round, please.
Number 10 is in. Number 11.
Ice. I love the fact that the maker got down in low angle and was able to uh, put the sun behind the ice so that it really glitters like a diamond. Everything is sharp. The ice itself is sharp. The foreground is sharp, and then the background just kind of fades away naturally. So well done. I really don't know how this image could have been improved, because I think the most important thing was getting the right angle. Obviously, if the sun was a little higher, you'd be getting all kinds of flare, and that can be a problem. But you waited till just the right moment where the sun really lights up the ice and the other parts of the image as well. So let's keep this in, please. Next.
11 is in. Number 12.
This image has a wonderful feel to it. Certainly a family type image. You can guess what the story might be. You see 3 generations. You guess it's probably a special occasion. You see the birthday cake or some kind of celebratory cake down in the lower left-hand corner. So if this was my family, I would be really happy with an image like this. The maker has handled it well. We see all the focus in on the screen, the phone screen, so everybody's looking there. It's very well composed. The background is distracting, I will have to say, particularly since so much of the background is white. Your eye does pull away and look at the door and the fireplace mantle and things like that. So I would encourage you, for those who aren't doing it already, to try out some of I use Lightroom, but I know everybody has different ones, but Lightroom, I guess, is probably the standard. And they have made masking a lot easier than it used to be. And I think this is a prime image for doing some masking where you can darken up that background so that the eyes really spend time on these three people, which I think is where the photographer wants us to be. And then I would probably would have liked to seen the person on the right hand side, the lady, be a little sharper. Her face is a little soft, so we're obviously dealing with a very shallow depth of field. If she had been sharper and if the background wasn't so distracting, I think this could have gone a little further than it did. But as is, I'm not going to keep this for the next round. It's out.
12 is out. 13.
I think this is an outstanding image in many ways. The bird itself is super sharp. The exposure is right on the money. The color that pops from the bird. I don't know my birds very well, so I don't know what kind of bird this is, but obviously the color in the wings is important, and that's what jumps out at you in this image. It's just a very vivid, creative approach to rendering an image that we see a lot of bird photographs. And admittedly, sometimes catching a bird in flight is a little harder than one where they're just roosting like this. But I think this is extremely well done. The background, the color of the background being more neutral, it just really sets off the bird super well. And everything is sharp, even the perch for the bird. Last but not least, getting the profile of the bird in this, you call it in your title, a prayerful pose, just something that is a little bit out of the ordinary, I think really makes the image well. It gives it a nice kind of almost an S curve to it. So let's definitely keep this for the next round. Good job.
13 is in. 14.
Beautiful flower, nicely captured of the rose. The light is very soft, and I mean that in a good way, on the rose. It just renders it so well. The light on the rose works, but the light on the leaves doesn't work as well for me, particularly the light leaves at the bottom of the rose and then the foreground that's out of focus. We could easily crop and or darken the foreground, and I think that would take care of it. For the leaves right under the rose, I think we could do that again in something like bright Lightroom and maybe brush and burn in those leaves a little bit. I think you'd have a more powerful image. And lastly, if you look close, there's a texture behind the rose. It's like a grid pattern, like maybe it was taken on a tablecloth or something like that. I don't think that really supports the image as well as it could. Again, this is something that could easily be handled in an editing software. I would make that background go as dark as you possibly can. Keep the rose the way it is. The tones in the rose are lovely, but let that background go totally black and burn in those leaves a little bit. And then I think you have an image that's really going to pop off the screen. Because we have so many good images tonight, I hate to drop something like this that has a lot of potential. But because it needs some of those little editing tweaks, I'm not going to take it to the next round.
14 is out. 15.
I have studied this image for a while, and I like the pattern. I like the colors. I commend the maker for trying something different. I ask you folks to surprise me, and this surprises me. I had to study it to see. I don't know what it is, and really, it doesn't really matter what it is. It strikes me maybe it could even be a composite. It's obviously from a garden, but I don't recognize a lot of the pieces of the image. But the colors work well together, the patterns work well together. What I find a little bit troubling about the image is the background of these white stones. They are obviously the lightest part of the image. So instead of my eye staying in the middle, where I think the photographer probably wants the viewer's eyes to go, my eyes do drift to these white stones, and they seem to be overexposed. There's not a lot of texture in some of the stones. Again, fairly easy to correct in post-processing, and I would encourage the photographer to try that, because I think then you could bring down the luminance of those stones, and then the eye would want to stay right there in the middle where you've got some more interesting colors and patterns and textures, which I think are the heart of the photograph. Because of that, I'm not going to take this into the next round, though.
Okay, 15 is out. Number 16.
This guy looks like somebody I wouldn't want to encounter. He looks like he might be on a mission. The Maker macro photography has its own set of challenges, and I think the Maker handled this one pretty well overall. I love the fact that the antennas don't merge, and you really get a good view. It's an interesting angle for this bee. I don't know whether he's sitting on a piece of glass or what, but you don't really see the bees from this angle very often. I wish that the legs, I'll call them legs, were more in focus, and that's obviously always a challenge with macro. Even the body of the bee is a little soft, so that detracts from the image from my point of view. I will say that I like the way the Maker handled the background, because so many macro images are destroyed by a cluttered or distracting background. And in this case, I don't think that's the problem. I think mostly the problem with this image is its sharpness, but the colors and the composition work well together. I'm not going to take this into the next round, though.
Okay, 16 is out. Number 17.
Perfect Timing is the title, and I think indeed the Maker really was perfect timing. How fortunate that, considering the lighting on this day, that a red, white, and blue boat sail comes right through, and the Maker did a great job capturing it right at the right time between those two pillars. So great timing, some wonderful, I would guess, evening colors in this image. I like the way the Maker has given this image room to breathe, down at the ocean, the water part, and at the sky. I probably, despite that, I like images that breathe. I probably would crop it some, crop a little bit off the top, maybe a little bit off the bottom, not much, and definitely a little bit off to the sides. Um, I do find that, despite the fact that you couldn't have handled this any better, the bridge itself ends up kind of dividing the photograph almost in half. And the sky itself, although there's some beautiful colors up there, just is not interesting enough to support being a big part of the image. Your eye is really down here at the sailboats thing. So there's nothing you could have done. You can't crop the bridge out. It destroys the whole photograph. But I just wrestle with how we could have composed this a little differently so that the bridge itself wouldn't be such a distraction and cutting right through the middle of the frame. Don't have a good solution for that. I commend the Maker for seeing this, but I don't think I'm going to take this to the next round.
17 is out. 18.
You can just hear these guys colliding. Really powerful image. And I commend the Maker for trying something to capture the action, trying something a little bit different that you don't normally see. It's a little overexposed, maybe a lot overexposed when you see there's no texture in the snow or whatever it is down at the bottom. And I think the fur and I assume these are bison, would have been a little better with a little less exposure. I like the middle part of the image where you see the collision and you feel the power of these animals. That is a creative approach, and I think it works really well. I would have liked to have seen, even with images like this, where you've got some blur to convey the action, the power of what's going on here. I still find that in general, it's nice to have at least something that's a little bit in focus. Whereas this whole image is soft, needless to say. Maybe if the fur was a little sharper on the bison, if parts of their horns were a little sharper, just something that would give my eye something like almost an anchor. I would think this would make this image a little bit stronger. So need a little bit more in focus. Definitely need to cut back on the exposure. And hopefully, if you were at this very interesting time, you took lots of photographs and you may have some others that you can share with us. As is, I'm not going to take this to the next round.
Number 18 is out. 19.
We've seen some wonderful birding shots. We got some more to come, and this one really works well. I don't know whether the maker intentionally did this in monochromatic tones or not, but it works well. We can see some detail in the feathers. We can see the birds, the ibis's eyes, or eye in this case, and the reflection works well. So the only thing I would have liked to have seen is maybe a tad more light on the bird's body itself, which you could probably bring out with a little bit of post-processing, um, dodge that a little bit to bring out a little more of the texture and the tones in the feathers and also of the head. I think that would have made it a little bit stronger. As is, it's a strong image, and I'd like to keep it for the next round, please.
19 is in. 20.
Thank you. The bird shots keep coming. Wow. You all do a marvelous job catching a bird in flight like this. The eye is sharp, the wings are sharp. Um, excellent job, excellent reflexes, and thank God we've got cameras these days that also help with some autofocus. And between the combination of a good photographer and knowing how to use his or her equipment well, you end up with beautiful images like this. I like the way that the cloud, that faint cloud, kind of parallels the wingspan of the bird. That works well. So I don't know how you could have improved this image. Let's keep it for the next round, please.
20 is in. 21.
And another amazing image. What can you say? The first thing that struck me is, I mean, how with that many birds, how do you keep it all in focus? But it pretty much is. And you get this pattern of the geese. It almost, I can see this on someone's wall. It just kind of astounds you that um, scenes like this actually exist. So um, the maker had to have good reflexes, knew when the birds were going to take off, had the right lens, and made this all work. The exposure's pretty good. There's pretty good detail overall in the birds. Maybe could be the exposure could be brought down just a tad, but overall, it's amazing, and certainly everything is sharp. I mean, think of all the action going on here, but the wings are sharp. So my compliments to the maker. Let's keep this for the next round, please.
21 is in. 22.
Uh, I like the mirror image of these birds. I'm pretty sure it is not a mirror image, that these two actually were separate birds. The profile works well. The birds are sharp. You can see the texture in their feathers very well. I would have liked to have not seen the tail feather on the left, the bird on the left side. I would have liked to have seen that not get cut off. That disturbs me a little bit. It's interesting that the background is really well handled, and the color almost perfectly rhymes with the birds themselves. But I find then that makes the birds merge a little bit more to the background than I would prefer. I would definitely like to see you mask this shot and take the background down a little bit just in its luminance values and its exposure, so that against a little bit darker background, you'd still keep those beautiful greenish tones, but I think the birds would pop more against that kind of a background. As is, they blend in a little bit too much in my mind. Um, I'm being picky because there's a lot going for this image, but with my background concerns and with that tail feather, I think I'm going to drop this one and go on to. I'm not going to have it go to the placement round.
Okay, number 22 is out. 23.
We haven't seen a lot of architecture type shots tonight. This is kind of a nice blend between architecture and the natural view. The what intrigued me the most when I saw this image for the first time is the color palette. The blues and the oranges and the I guess a little bit of yellow in there. It just very peaceful. Makes it look like a kind of place that you'd want to spend a nice afternoon at. The sides bother me a little bit. Let your images breathe, please. And if we could have left a little more room on the left and the right hand sides, not a lot, but enough so that we wouldn't feel quite so constricted. I think this would have made it more powerful image. I like the fact that it's sharp. The color palette, as I said, just works so well together. It's a creative approach in the sense that you don't really think, okay, well, let's look for an opportunity to juxtapose a tree next to a more modern looking building. In this case, I think it works, and I'd like to carry it to the next round.
23 is in. 24.
I know we're going to have way too many, but oh well. This guy looks hungry and an interesting critter. I like the way the maker caught the kind of the peak action. You can see the leg, the claw, grasping at the plant. You can get a good idea of the critters. I guess this is a squirrel. I'm not sure if it's a squirrel or a rabbit. I think it's a squirrel. I don't know, but nice job with that we can really get a good idea of the action going on here. I think I would have cropped off the top. That big white spot at the top really draws your eye away. And I think it could even been cropped a little bit at the bottom and off to the right-hand side a little bit. Lastly, and I think this image needs to be sharper. The fur is just not real sharp. The eye isn't sharp. And when you're going to shoot nature type photographs like this, even in your backyard, you want them to be as sharp as possible. And I'm sure this critter was moving and it was tough, but practice on the focus, practice on maybe the shutter speed, get it a little sharper, and then I think you've really got something. But I'm not going to take this to the next round.
24 is out. 25.
Wow. These painted budding, I'm not a birder, but I can appreciate the beauty of this bird and probably the rarity of finding them. So the maker handled this really well. The colors just, wow. What can you say? God's handiwork. Who can imagine this? The background is really well handled, and that's very important. With one exception, however, those two limbs, I guess they are coming off on the left-hand side, coming down as a diagonal. Those would be so easy to either eliminate or at least darken, because although maybe you could argue, well, they kind of provide a leading line into the bird, I find them distracting. Everything else about this is so good. The bird is sharp, the eyes are sharp. The bird's body is sharp. The eyes are sharp. The colors are just outstanding. The perch is sharp. So it's got so much going for it. I just hated to see those limbs pull my eye away. Work on that, and then I think you got a real winning shot. But let's take this definitely to the next round, please.
25 is in. Number 26.
Peak action. And sharp. I mean, what more can you want? Good job with the background. Nice neutral tones. Pretty good exposure on the feathers. The body feathers look like they might not be quite as sharp as I would like, but the key on a shot like this, an image like this, is the eye and the heads, and you've got that sharp. The only thing extra I would have suggested that could make this image a little more powerful is crop a good bit off the right-hand side. I don't think it needs quite that much. Personally, I would have taken off at least a third of the right-hand side. Still, you want the bird to be looking into that part of the frame, but I don't think you need quite that much, and you still get the beautiful colors that are reflected in the water with the rest of the image. Let's keep this for the next round, though, please.
26 is in. 27.
Talking about a surprise image, I would not have expected to see a fire swallower. Number two, I probably wouldn't have expected to see this in black and white, but it works. And the angle really struck me that I would not have expected to see the diagonal approach to the subject. So I commend the maker. Try something new, try something different, try a different angle, and I think it all works together well. Um, the picky part of me would say that I'd like to see the hand at the top not cut off the fingers, and I would like to see the face a little sharper. It's interesting that the chain on the gentleman is super sharp, but his face and eyes are not as sharp. The smoke, at least, is a little sharp, but just weird that the face itself is not as sharp as I would have hoped. Um, let's keep this for the next round. I'm not sure if it'll make it to an award, but I wanted to be surprised, and this was a surprising image, and I commend the maker for trying something a little bit different.
27 is in. 28.
Today's cameras have given us kind of opened up a whole world of astrophotography for us. So I commend the maker for taking advantage of that and doing a really lovely job with it. So many astro shots that I see are don't have an interesting foreground, and this one does. I guess this is a little planetarium or something, and it's well lit. It's not doesn't just not just a black blob. There's even a little bit of texture in the foliage off to the left. So good job. Um, I don't see what I could have done to make this image any better. It's when you're into astrophotography, I commend you for being out late in the cold often. It's not something that I do a lot of, but when I see a nice image, I really can appreciate it. And my compliments to the maker on this. Let's keep this in.
28 is in. 29.
Forgotten Tracker. I can see definitely taking this image. I am attracted to. Sometimes I think, well, photographers like decay for some reason. At least a lot of photographers do. So I know I would have been attracted to taking this kind of a photograph, and I like that the maker rendered it in monochrome, which I think really makes it stand out. There's a mystery to the image as to why is it got this shroud or something over it? And of course, why is it sitting out in the middle of the woods, I guess. Um, so a lot of good things going on with this image. It disturbs me a little bit with the focus, the sharpness, the depth of field, because the left-hand side of the tractor is very, very soft. The right-hand side is a little soft. What's sharp is the wheel, and I like that. The wheel has a lot of character to it. But considering the distance that the photographer was from this tractor, I'm going to call it a tractor, I don't understand. Maybe it was a vintage lens or something, but I would have expected the whole tractor to be maybe not tack sharp, but at least sharper than it is. There's too many soft parts of the overall image that make me feel real good about it. When I see subjects like this, I also think this is a good place to start with an image like this. Then I hope that then you would immediately go in and start picking out some details. I think there are probably some wonderful images right there in the tire and that rusted wheel that you could probably get many good subjects just from that, and you wouldn't have to worry about getting everything else in focus. So for that reason, I'm not going to take this into the next round.
29 is out. Number 30.
Very intriguing shot. I happen to recognize the background, and I think it's this picture kind of tells a story, particularly if you know that the background is from one of the nicer parts of New York. Um, I would consider it fairly wealthy. It's a park, but it's more frequented by probably New York's more well-to-do residents. And then you see in the foreground what appears to be perhaps someone who's homeless taking a nap on this bench. So that kind of tells a story, and the juxtaposition is very interesting. I wish we could see more of the figure. We don't know a whole lot about the figure. I see some tennis shoes. I see their feet. Don't know whether it's male or female. Doesn't really matter, but I just wish there was a little less mystery on the person himself. And I know that's a touchy subject. If you're a photojournalist, you have to respect people's privacy, and you don't just go sticking a camera in their face. So I think taking a step back, literally and figuratively, I understand what the maker was trying to do. I think I understand the story that the maker was trying to tell here, and I like it. I think it's really well done. I think it's rendering it in monochrome is so much better for an image like this than it would have been in color. I'd like to keep this for the next round.
30 is in. 31.
Sue, surprisingly, I haven't seen a lot of portraits tonight, and this is one of the few, and it's extremely well done. The lighting is perfect as far as I'm concerned for the subject matter. It's low key. It's not over the top. Not super glamour, but very realistic. And we get a little feel for the personality of the subject with the tattoo on the right hand side, the necklace that she's wearing. The eyes, of course, are beautiful. The texture of the hair just kind of jumps out with the lighting that the photographer chose for this, and then rendering it all in black and white, I think works very well. Don't really have any suggestions for this. My compliments to the maker. Let's keep this on for the next round.
31 is in. 32.
What makes this image is that shaft of light coming down from the skylight. And I'm sure I'm not telling you something, the maker saw that and captured it. So good job. And then the fact that the maker chose, I would assume, a fairly wide angle lens to bring the sides, kind of bring the viewer's eye into the center of the photograph. They're kind of their own little leading lines right into where the chair and the desk are. So it works really well. The lighting is interesting with that shaft of light. The color, I probably would say let's look at this in black and white, but that the orange rusty textures and colors that you get in the back really kind of set the mood for the image. So I think probably it's rendered best in color the way the maker decided to do it. I'm not sure what we're trying to get out of this image, except that it's a very interesting spot. It's certainly a place that has lots of visual appeal. It's kind of emotional, doesn't look like the best of places that you'd want to spend a lot of time at. But all the pieces work together, and the photographer captured it well. Let's keep this for the next round.
32 is in. Number 33.
Kind of a photojournalistic type shot, very powerful in the sense that the high contrast black and white, and in this case, I think the high contrast approach works well. Interesting lighting on the subject, and I'm glad we've got that lighting. It would have been so easy for the figure, especially his face, just to kind of go off into the shadows and you wouldn't be able to see much of it. I do wish we could see a little more of the face. He's in profile. Would have been nice if you took a lot of shots, that maybe if he tilted his head a little bit more towards the photographer without it looking like it was posed. I think that could have helped. But you certainly, with the way the photographer has rendered this, you certainly get a feel for the power of this piece of machinery. I don't know whether it's a train or it's something in a factory, but it just works well together. I think I would have probably cropped a little bit off the top. I find that the left side of the image, particularly up at the upper left-hand side where that bolt or rivet is, I don't think we really need that. I think you could have cropped that off or taken it out in Lightroom, and I think it would have not hurt the photograph at all. I like the way the maker has composed this. It's an interesting angle. It's a creative approach at a subject that, we've seen a lot of people um, on trains, if that's what this is. I don't know for sure this is a train, but I'm not used to seeing people with this angle climbing on a big machine like this. So good job, and let's keep this for the next round, please.
33 is in. 34.
This is an interesting framing device, and I actually really like it. Sometimes we frame things and we have a fairly shallow depth of field, and you look through the frame and you say, okay, well, what's out there in the distance that's worth it? And I think in this image, although we really can't see exactly what's out there in the distance, you can tell it's something interesting. It has some nice tones and textures to it. But of course, the main thing are the tones and textures of this. I don't know whether this is a fence post or what it is, but uh, it just works well together. Nicely done. I commend the maker for seeing this. Probably a lot of people would walk right past this and not even think to photograph it. Um, but we've got it here, and it looks really nice. Creative framing devices, I'm all for. Let's keep this in for the next round.
34 is in. 35.
Amazing bird in flight shot, as far as I'm concerned, to not only capture peak action, but to have the detail in the white wings, to have the eye sharp, to have the background neutral and not distracting. And all this accomplished on a day where it looked like it was pretty bright out. So I would consider this not the optimum light to photograph a bird like this. And yet somehow the maker nailed it. Even the back of the bird, the claws at the back are sharp. So really good job. I wish at the bottom the little shadows or lines, catch my eye a little bit more than I'd like. That could be eliminated in post processing, but I'm being really picky when I look at that. I really want to spend time at the bird's head and the wings, and it just is a delight to look at. Let's keep this for the next round.
35 is in. 36.
Hummingbird shots, I don't have to tell everybody, are tough and excellent job. This is certainly one of the better hummingbird shots I've ever seen because the bird is captured, is sharp. The eye, the most important thing, is sharp. The flower is sharp. You can tell enough of the body, the feathers, even though the wings are obviously moving. We can see the body and the colors and the textures of the feathers. So really a tremendous job. And last but not least, the background. So many bird shots, so many macro shots, as I said, are, if not ruined, at least not optimized because of the background. In this case, the background works perfectly. So let's keep this in, please.
36 is in. 37.
I studied this photograph for a while because it's very intriguing. Again, not something that you see every day. Um, the weird framing on the sides, I assume, is it because it's some kind of an aquarium or tank or something. So I can kind of get past that. I love the colors, the pinks, the pastels, the pastel blue, the pastel pink in the water, and the fact that the fish are kind of all circling around these I don't know whether they're porpoises or what they are, but it just compositionally, except for the dark frame around it, I really like the composition. Seems to just be something that um, you just don't see every day, and that's what I love. That's what I love about photography. Do wish that things were sharper, and I realize that this is a very tough situation to photograph. But our main subjects, the porpoises, or whatever critters these are just way too soft. I can't hardly even detect an eye on the main one that seems to be facing us a little bit. Um, and the fish that are swimming around them are also pretty soft. So that's, to me, is really unfortunate because I think it has so many other good things going for it. But I know aquariums, if this was taken in an aquarium, or maybe this was a scuba operation, I don't know, but it just needs to be a little sharper to have the impact that I think the photographer meant for this image to have. So I'm going to not take this to the next round.
37 is out. 38.
What a location. Wow. I mean, spectacular sky, spectacular landscape. Kind of the desert, looks like the desert meeting the mountains. And then you get this beautiful sunset or sunrise. I'm going to guess it's a sunset. So I commend the maker for really seeing this. And, maybe you were on this road that is in the foreground, pulled off your car off the side of the road and said, man, I gotta get this. And I'm glad you did. Um, the layers work well. The road kind of provides you with a little bit of a leading line into the landscape. So a lot of things work well together. The image is soft, and I would have expected a little more, I would at least expected the foreground or the background, one or the other, to be a little sharper. But it's kind of soft all the way through. Maybe the sky is maybe the sharpest part, and the sky is spectacular, but I really think we needed that landscape to be sharper. Um, the other thing that strikes me with this image is it's pretty noisy. Um, and nowadays, with today's digital editing software, the denoise functions on Lightroom and some other programs have really made a big difference. You have to be careful not to overuse them because they can soften things a little bit too much while they take the noise out. They can reduce your sharpness. But if you play with them enough, get some experience with them, you'll find that they can take a lot of this noise out and still keep the image looking pretty sharp. So overall, this needs more sharpness and it needs to be denoised, if that is such a word these days. So I'm not going to take this into the next round.
38 is out. 39.
Boy, the greens really pop on this image. Um, it really is a perfect spring image. And then you've got the way this red jacket kind of pops out against the green. So it really works well together. It's a very peaceful, tranquil image. The willow tree is just absolutely gorgeous. The reflection is so well handled. The only thing that makes me think that maybe we went a little bit too heavy on our saturation with the reflection. Usually reflections aren't quite that saturated as the non-reflected part. And to see that green in the water, maybe it might be real, but I think a little more realistic approach would be to lessen that green a little bit and balance it out a little bit so that it looks a little bit more like the green in the tree. Um, I would also like to have seen a little more on the sides, let the image breathe. I like the way the maker has cropped the top. I think the reflection on the bottom works, even though you could crop a little bit off of that too, but mostly the sides of the image. Maybe there were kids playing that you didn't want to include in the image. But overall, when I see images like this, I feel constricted and I'd like to see it breathe a little bit more on the sides. For that reason, I'm not going to take it into the next round. It's out.
39 is out. 40.
What a wonderful color palette this image brings to us. The purples and the different shades of purple, and then you've got a few other colors thrown in. I don't know how this image was made. Don't know whether this is a photograph of something, an image, a painting itself. Obviously, everyone can see that it's got a lot of texture to it, that could have been added in post-processing to these flowers. I don't know how it was made, but I commend the maker for trying something a little bit different, something a little bit new. And the textures in my mind work, and the color palette is just wonderful. I would have not cut off the leaves on the right-hand side, and there's one on the left-hand side. I just don't believe, if when you're photographing plants or animals, try not to cut off the appendages unless it makes sense. And in this case, I don't think it would make sense to do that. And also again, being picky, the leaf down towards the bottom center, I think we could easily lose that through post-processing, because my eye, for some reason, does want to drop down to that. It's not a light color, but it's just the unusual shape and the way it points up to the rest of the flowers. I kind of say, well, why is that there? Does it really need to be there? Whereas my eye really wants to stay in the heart of the image, up there in the beautiful textures, the whites, the pastel purples, even I guess you got some oranges and yellows in there. So I think if I had seen the whole image, I would have liked this a little bit better. I think considering what we're dealing with tonight, we already have way too many images for the next round. I'm not going to take this to the next round.
40 is out. 41.
Another wonderful birding shot, peak action. The background's handled really well. I would have liked to have seen a little bit of post-processing editing on an image like this, whereas the background, the lightness of the background, I would like to have brought that down a little bit in the exposure, because it almost kind of overwhelms this dark colored bird. And then you could have brought the bird out a little bit more, the anhinga, with a little touch of dodging on the feathers of the neck. I think there's enough detail there. I think the exposure is good enough that it would withstand that easily. So you'd end up with being able to see the bird's feathers a little bit more, and the whole frame of the bird would have stood out a little bit more against the darker background. And I would have even probably just added a little touch more light to the fish, because his or her head is a little dark. So I'm being picky, but these are the kind of things that make a difference when you start going into outside competitions. I'm going to keep this for the next round because I love the reflection. I love the peak action that the maker caught. I just wish we could have dealt with those things, the background and the feathers, a little bit better.
41
keep
is
it,
41
please.
is in. Good. 41 is in. 42.
The pastel colors on this are wonderful. I think the maker handled the composition about as well as you can. I love Maine, so I recognize the place immediately, and I would be very proud to have done an image like this. The island that's out in the middle kind of provides an anchor to the whole thing. You can see some fog in the mountains or islands out in the distance, but the main thing that really makes this image sing and to me provides an emotional impact is the beautiful pastel colors that you get in the sky and in the waters. Let's keep this on for the next round.
42 is in. 43.
This image has a lot of impact. I hate to overuse that word impact, but ultimately, I guess that's what we're all going for. And I commend the maker for rendering this in black and white. Beautiful tones. I'm not sure if the main leaf is backlit or it's just capturing a perfect light coming in from the side, but it just brings out the texture, brings out the water droplets on the leaves. So it's just well handled. The background is not distracting. Um, and everything is there. I mean, you didn't cut off anything that shouldn't be cut off. It has a nice frame to it in the sense that there's a nice foundation. It's a little bit at the top that the leaf kind of aspires to going up into. So it's extremely well done. And it is something that although we see a lot of leaves shots, I think this still is a little different take on what we normally see. So I definitely would like to keep this for the next round.
43 is in. Number 44.
I like a lot about this image in the sense that the tones in the grasses off to the left side are just beautiful. The lighting, I guess it might be maybe a storm is coming. I don't know whether maybe it's just the end of the day or early morning. But the light on those leaves is just so nice. And that light, warm light, just juxtaposed with the blue in the sky just works really well together. And I like the foreground that we've got a nice foundation as well. The um, the sticks, the docks, whatever they are that are out in the middle of the frame, kind of lead your eye into the rest of the photograph. So that's really nice. I think we have too much on the right-hand side. I don't see where you want to keep some of that to echo the nice light that's on the left side, but we certainly don't need all that. I don't think it really adds that much to the photograph. And I actually think compositionally and balance and everything else, it just makes sense to crop maybe half of that off on the right hand side, beginning where the grasses are on the right hand side. The other question I would raise is why the island out in the background seems to be so black, no texture whatsoever. And I don't know why that is. I would have expected to see at least a little bit of texture. So that bothers me a little bit. But I think overall, the cropping is the main reason I would not take this I would not take this to the next round. Let's drop this.
44 is out. Number 45.
Wonderful birding shot. The eyes sharp. The colors are wonderful. I like to see a little more light, a little more detail in the body of the feathers, but that's being picky. The background is handled wonderfully. No distractions. Nice complementary colors. A lot of good things going for this. Let's keep this into the next round.
45 is in. 46.
The lighting on this image just is marvelous. If there is, how's that for a fine art term? I really like the way the maker, I assume maybe the maker set this up, who knows? But the way you ended up with the two dark sets of boots on each side, and the colorful parts in the middle just works well. And the background is just so perfect for what you're trying to convey. And it looks like they're sitting on something wood. You can see a little bit of texture and color, but you don't see more than you need to see. The soft lighting that really brings out the colors and the textures in the boots is really wonderful. And so even though you could argue, well, this is kind of a static composition, it's very symmetrical, uh, but it just all the elements work together well. And it's not something that I'm used to seeing every day, maybe because I don't live in Texas, but I just think the maker handled this really well. So let's keep this for the next round.
46 is in. 47.
And we're in Ireland or Scotland, okay, anyway, Scotland, I think. Wow, what a cool place. And the maker was right there at the right time of day to capture beautiful light on the side of this, I guess, ruined castle. So beautiful lighting on it, nicely composed. We've got a nice foreground. I like the rocks in the lower left-hand side. Certainly an interesting background. The sky's kind of blah, not the sky really isn't supporting the image a whole lot. So I would certainly consider cropping a good bit of that out. And I probably would have liked, we when we're in travel like this, you can't always choose where you're going to set up your tripod, but if you or your camera, but if you could, I would have taken a couple of more steps to the left and tried to get the castle more against that's beautiful green evergreens on that part of the mountain, as opposed to the very barren mountain on the left-hand side. That barren part is, I'm sure, part of the landscape, but I think just purely from a visual point of view, to juxtapose that beautiful warm light on the castle against the greens and the cooler colors of the pine trees would have made the image a lot better. But maybe you couldn't do that. Lastly, though, it is a little soft. I would have expected that the castle itself would have a little more sharpness, a little more texture in the stones and the bricks, and it just isn't quite there. Don't know whether you were handheld or and it should have been on a tripod. I don't know, but just a little too soft for my taste, and I'm not gonna. For that reason, it's not gonna go to the next round.
47 is out. 48.
What a cool composition. Cool maybe is an ironic term, but to use that kind of S curve to lead the viewer's eye up to the bird is very unique and very creative. I'm not sure everybody would have thought of doing that, and it works. Um, the um, the tones work. I mean, you get the feeling, I don't know whether, I assume we might be in Antarctica, but it looks cold. It's definitely got a bluish tone, which you would expect to see from such snow and ice. So it works together well. I think it probably could have cropped a little bit off the left, just a tad. Definitely could have cropped some more off the right-hand side, and you would still have benefited from that beautiful S curve leading line leading up to the bird. In the ideal world, I would have loved to have seen a little more detail in the bird's head. It's pretty much in shadow. You can't really see any eyes or anything like that. But I think the fact that you can see the majority of the body and it's a very interesting profile. I think it all still comes together. So let's keep this for the next round, please.
Okay, 48 is in, and that is the end of these images here. Let me see how many we have left.
Way too many, but lots of good images.
Yeah. Nope, that ain't it. Let's try that. I'm showing 28. Is that correct? I'm getting a bunch of thumbs up. So we have 28 images.
And we got to get it down to 9.
Correct.
You guys make my job too hard.
We can
Good
go
work.
through again, or you can pick and choose from the thumbnail grid online.
Okay. Give me a minute. I think I kind of know what direction I want to go. But I want to make sure make sure I don't do something like I did stupidly in the first round. And I want to make sure I've got all the honorable mentions that I think I want. So 5 honorable mentions. Pick something. Couple I want to look at a little closer again. Okay. I hate to see so many good images not get an award, but that's the way these competitions work. I did want to say, maybe I'll do this before I wrap up. Everybody knows that judging is subjective, and so I hope everybody realizes that the ultimate judge is themselves. Certainly, you need to learn to be critical of your own images. You need to look at them very closely and look at them with a bit of a jaundiced eye so that you can see maybe over time spot flaws that maybe somebody else would pick up in an outside competition. But ultimately, you've got to be your own best judge. You've got to be happy with your work. And if you are happy with your work, then that's the most important thing. Because, we've all been through situations where, you fall in love with an image and one of your own images, and you put it in a competition and it doesn't do well. The judge doesn't pick it for an award. The judge even has some criticism. And you tell yourself, well, now, wait a minute. The judge didn't know what I was really trying to do with that image. The judge didn't see what I saw when I set that image up. And that is all 100% right. So have faith in yourself. If you love the image, it's important. And keep it out there. If you want to share it with other people, keep pushing it out there. We've all had situations, I suspect, I know I have, and I imagine you all have, where, you have an image that, one competition, it doesn't even get into a placement round. And in a different competition with a different judge, it gets one of the top awards. So always keep that in mind. And, it's a privilege for me to be able to look at these beautiful images and to kind of suggest how I might have done things with your image, but ultimately it is your image and you have to be happy with it and make sure that you're the one that you're really trying to please and not some judge like me. So that's my little soapbox. In terms of the awards for tonight, and as I said, we had 28 make it to the next round, and it's a shame that we can only give notices to 9, but what I'd like to do is award an honorable mention. These are not necessarily any particular order. One would be the flying egret. I think that was the title of the image, egret.
35 egret, is that the one?
35, yep.
Is that the
You
right
want me
one on
to
the
use
screen?
the number of the image, does that work better for you, John?
Yeah, that'll be good.
Okay, so 35 would be an honorable mention. Do you want me to go through the rest of the honorables?
Sure.
Okay. 36 also, the ruby-throated hummingbird.
Yep, got it.
Okay. The conductor, which was number 10, is an honorable mention.
Got it. Honorable mention.
Our beautiful ice sculpture, number 11, is an honorable mention.
Number 11, honorable mention.
And then the Scudic sunset, which was, where's that? There it is. 42, honorable mention.
Got
Okay. Do you want me to go on into the fourth place and so forth?
If you've got them, sure.
Yep. Okay, fourth place would be the cowboy closet, which is, what number was that? Why am I not seeing it?
46.
There it is, 46. Third place would be the early morning prayer, which is,
13.
I think that's right. Yep. Second place would be our beautiful portrait, number 31.
Got it. Second place.
And first place would be the artistic leaves, the monochrome, number 43.
43, first place.
Yep.
Okie dokie, let me move that over here. And then nuke the rest. And let's go and get Ron back on the microphone to announce our winners for tonight, starting with number 36.
Okay, long list here, so I'll have to work to be organized. 36, ruby-throated hummingbird, and that was Kathy Hockel. Congratulations. Okay, and number 35 is ruby-throated hummingbird. No? I'm sorry, these little, Prince Little. Number 35, Egret. Is that Fred Venetia? I'll have you fix that the next time. Fred.
Yeah, it was at the wrong time of day, but I was in the morning, but it was in the middle of summer, and it was right down the street. You know, I was out walking, and I seen him sitting on the. I went down and got my camera. He's still sitting there, and then decided to take off, and bingo, that was it. It was just 200 to 600.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Perfect exposure.
Okay, thank you. All right, number 10 is the conductor, and that's J.C. Williams. Congratulations. Wonderful to meet you. Okay, J.C. is not here. All right, number 11 is ice, and that's Doug Wood. Congratulations, Doug. Do you have any more on that?
I have no voice.
Okay.
Iceland.
Okay.
It was taken in Iceland, that's all I
It was taken in Iceland. All right, there we go. Okay, number 42 was Scudic Sunset, and that was my picture, Ron Pfeiffer. And, it was one of those lucky days. I just got to the end of the day. We were in the area trying to make our way to the motel and stopped here because it just was too much to pass up.
Is that Maine?
That's Maine, Scudic, the Scudic Peninsula.
Love the pastel colors.
Yeah, thank you. And 46 is Cowboy Closet. That's mine. Also, fourth place. These are cowboy boots that were sitting in a used stuff store somewhere in Asheville, North Carolina this summer.
Not Texas.
Not Texas,
Beautiful.
no. Thank you.
So the light was just natural, just the ambient light.
The light is natural and a little Photoshop magic, actually.
Nice. Just a really nice feel to the image.
Great, thank you. All right, third place, early morning prayer, and that's J.C. Williams. Okay, and second place is Sue, and that's Fred Venetia.
I took that down in the graffiti warehouse. What I did is I used a 48-inch octa and with a grid on it, and I used a 56-inch strip box, 7 inches, something like that, and that was put on the backside. And I start with one light and work it up 2, 4, 5, 6 lights, whatever I got, and then I stopped at 2 with that one.
Worked. Beautiful.
Okay, before I announce first place, Martin, I just want to say thank you so much for all of the work you put into this, and I know it was a lot of images, and but you gave some tremendous feedback to all of us on this. It was a real good learning night for us, so thank you very much for that.
Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed it. Nothing better than spending an evening looking at beautiful images like this.
Well, and you've picked for our first place image this evening is Artistic Leaves, and that's Louis Sapienza, please. Okay. All right, John, I guess we'll hand that over to you from here.
Thank you for joining us tonight, and we will see you next week when John has given his presentation on historic photography and the history of photography. And thank you for joining us. Good night.
Thanks, everyone. Keep up the wonderful work.
Thank you, Martin. Great work.
Recording.